Today, we officially wrap up our mini-series on building my 2020 pedal board, where we'll focus on all the audio cabling that makes sure you hear those sweet, sweet tones. What's going on, friends? It's your old pal SeanPierceJohnson here, and today it's the final act. It is everything coming together, and we're gonna finally hear this cornucopia of pedals on this 2020 pedal board. But we're gonna do so by focusing on the stuff that, well, holds it all together. This is the Sinasoid Sliver Solderless Cable System. Now, I've been using Sinasoid cables for years here in the studio, on the channel. You may have seen a bright white cable and a nice fire engine red cable in different videos here and there. Those are Sinasoid cables, and I really like them. They work for a lot of different situations. They sound great, and they haven't failed me yet. So, party, bonus. And before I get a whole host of comments in the comment section going like, oh my god, why are you using solderless cables? Yeah, I get it. I know how to solder, but you know what? Nobody's gigging out in 2020 anyway. So I doubt I'm gonna be taking this pedal board out into the elements where I could possibly have some issues. And let's face it, there's been some advances in solderless cable technology over the last 20, 30 years. So why not check out a product from some of my friends? And what's even cooler about the kit that I got sent from Sinasoid is that not only do they have these Sliver Solderless connectors made by G&H, it also came with a strand of MOGAMI wire. That's right, you heard me correct. Solderless cable kit with MOGAMI wire. You know you want it. So let's talk about the kit first and foremost. When you go on Sinasoid's website, you can basically spec out any size kit that you want. I myself have enough cabling and connectors to make up to 25 patch cables for this pedal board build, which might be a little bit more than I'm gonna need, but we'll just have to wait and see. The plugs, like I said, made by G&H, very low profile patch cables, the lowest profile solderless cable that I've ever run across. There might be some that are about the same size, but in terms of my experience with, say, like Planet Waves and George L, even these are a little bit smaller than the George L connectors. Now, there is a standard cable that does come with the kit, so you're more than welcome to use that. But you can upgrade to MOGAMI 2314 cable for just a slight upcharge, and you'll be able to have all the goodness that MOGAMI wire is known for in guitar cable tonal searching. Now, MOGAMI 2314 wire has become very popular amongst pedalboard builders over the course of the last couple of years, and it's easy to see why. But we know this cable as being able to be used in a soldered cable connection, and this is the exact same cable that you would use if you were to solder connections. But just because this cable is usually used for soldered connections doesn't mean it won't work with a solderless connection. Now, I did go through a bit of a headache at the beginning of this when I first got the kit. I tried putting a couple cables together and it just wasn't working. There was signal passing through, but the ground and the signal to noise ratio was just off the charts terrible. So I gave my buddy Albert at Sinasoid a call. We had a little video chat and we figured out the perfect methodology for making sure that when you go to get the Sliver Solderless MOGAMI kit, that you will be making patch cables perfectly each and every time. So let me show you how to make one. So let me go ahead and show you the materials you're gonna need in order to be able to make cables with the Sliver Solderless system. First, you're gonna need something to cut the cable with. Now, you can use scissors as long as they're a good sharp pair. You can use wire cutters, cable cutters, as long as the tip is sharp. But I've gone ahead and elected to use this box cutter X-Acto knife because the blade is fresh, it's nice and sharp, and I can make smooth, straight cuts, which is very important in the building process. Then you're also gonna need a flathead screwdriver. You know, a decently small tip is something that you're gonna need. You don't want it to be too big because you're gonna need to unscrew the set screws in the connectors. So that's out of the way. We have something to cut, something to screw, and we move on. The next thing I recommend you having is that you have a solid work surface in order to make your cables on. Something that's nice and sturdy and stable, and although we can see this shaking, I'm gonna add just a little bit of a layer of protection of that. And this is a flooring sample that I got because I had another goddamn water leak in my house. So, yay for me. But then, this little cork pad. You probably see these at IKEA while you're trying to go find materials to build your IKEA pedal board. You can find these, they're like, I don't know, $1 for 4 of these, $2 for 4 of these, but this will be a great thing to take the connectors and be able to apply downward pressure and keep it in place. This is more just so you don't scuff up the work surface of, you know, wherever you're cutting your cable. So let's make one. The first thing I like to do is take my screwdriver and just unscrew the set screws that are in the connectors. And don't take them out entirely. You can leave them in there just a little bit so you don't lose that tiny little screw. And repeat it on the second one, and we're ready to get this show on the road. Now you can go from this point in two different ways. You can either put a connector on one end and then cut your cable to length, which is how I like to do it personally, or you can go ahead, measure out the length of cable that you're gonna need, cut it, and then start putting the connectors on. I'm gonna go ahead and do the first end and then measure. So here's what you're gonna need to do. I'm gonna grab my little cork pad now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my X-Acto knife and I'm gonna cut straight down. I don't need to cut off a whole lot here because that cut was really straight, but I want you guys to see the full process. Just went straight down and came back. And you want a really nice straight cut on that cable. And you want the cable to be decently rounded because it's gonna have to go inside the connector when we put in the cable. So then you're just gonna slide it in and then just start applying gentle general hand pressure. It's not supposed to be something that you're gonna have to like Hulk it up. I had some moments where it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm applying this much pressure and these cables are still not working. But thankfully, with Albert on the other end doing a video call, we were able to find something. Now this is why the cork is important for me, because it helps the connector pushing down into it, it stabilizes it a little bit. Now you're gonna wanna keep applying downward pressure onto the connector with the cable while you set in the set screw. And this is where I was making a big mistake in my first attempts at building cables with this kit. Now with similar products, they tell you to basically screw in the set screw until it's flush with the connector. However, Albert and I discovered that in order for the set screw to make proper connection with the grounding inside the wire, you need to actually screw it in much tighter and much deeper than you might think. Now you're gonna need to recess that screw a little bit into the connector. It's not supposed to be flush. You should actually see it start to dip down a little bit. Almost look at it as like you're putting more pressure on it than necessary. Now I've gone ahead and measured about how long I'm gonna want this cable to be for its particular spot on the board. I'm just gonna hold it right there with my finger. That's about how much cable I'm gonna need. It's a fairly short one. Go straight down and straight back. I got a nice smooth cut, and now we can do the other side. Back with the cork pad and then place the connector. And one other tip I can give you when building these cables is that once you put the cable in, just sliding it in, you're gonna need to go a bit further past it. So it might be a good idea to just apply more pressure on the cable than you think before you put in the set screw. Start screwing that thing in. And there we have ourselves a tiny little patch cable, but the most important thing we need to do is test it. So let's test it. So here's how I've been testing the patch cables. I just take any guitar, my Jennings Navigator will do just fine for this job, and I have that plugged in with a normal cable, as a matter of fact, one of my Sinasoid instrument cables, into an orange compressor on the floor, which I will have active. And then after that into a Morley Power Wah volume pedal in the volume pedal mode. Now I have it turned down all the way so you're not hearing anything in the noise, and we're just picking this up with a room microphone right now. But here is what we're going to hear with our control. It's connected to the amplifier with another Sinasoid cable. The patch cable is a soldered Sinasoid patch cable. So let's go ahead and hear. Okay, there we go. That is our control. We know that those cables work. Now I've turned the volume pedal down. I'm gonna unplug the soldered patch cable and plug in the cable that I just made for you guys. Here's proof. Here is the soldered patch cable. I'm gonna throw it over there, and here is the patch cable that we just made that's solderless. And then we go ahead. And there we go. We have ourselves a patch cable.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
And here you have it, my friends. 2020 on a pedal board. Or something like that. Yeah. You know, for as compact as it is, it's a little heavy, but, you know, what are you going to do when you start throwing all this kind of stuff on a pedal board? There's nothing you can do about it. You know, once Albert and I got our heads together and we realized where I was going wrong in making the patch cables for the Sliver Solderless system, putting everything together was a breeze. This board came together really quickly. And, you know, it's hot here in Southern California, so, you know, as it usually is every summer. So the idea of building a pedal board out in the garage right now was not really something I wanted to do. And the fact that I got to just do it in the comfort of my own home and in the air conditioning is really nice. No issues with the power. The power has been quiet. It still is quiet. No issues at all with, well, really with anything. Couple different cables are just a little bit longer than I would have liked them to be, but at the end of the day, you know, a little bit of slack on the cable isn't going to hurt it so much. Had one little issue with the swollen pickle, but that all came down to just the positioning and making sure that the power connector was just really nice and snug in the power jack. And once I figured that out, we were treated to that full pickle glory. But I gotta give a big thumbs up to this solderless system. All the cables, once we figured out the methodology of putting it together, really easy to put together, and sounding really good. Tested every single one of them in the testing that I showed you guys in this video, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the sound. I think that there definitely is something to the fact that people seem to love Mogami wire so much. Even though I myself am a Canary GS6 guy, I cannot deny the fact that the tone that I'm getting out of this is really nice, really good. I'm excited. I can't wait to use this a little bit more and really start dialing things in and doing some presets, which if you'd like to see me do a video related to that, let me know by leaving a comment in the comment section below and giving this video a thumbs up. You can also, please, if you enjoyed this, share this video with your friends. And if you want to see more videos like this, come back to the channel by clicking the subscribe button and ringing that notification bell. But you can see all that stuff before anyone else as well by joining my Patreon community. You'll find a link for that in the description below. You'll get early access to content as well as some videos that I'm not making available to everybody that subscribes to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me for this little mini series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something and found some new things that you can take a look at when it comes to building your pedal board. Till next time, my friends, I'm SeanPierceJohnson, and I wish you all out there great tone, good health, and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. God bless you.